Look at this grid. This is exactly how modern public education is engineered to operate. It is a system built for mass efficiency, large-scale management, and delivering standardized outcomes on a rigid schedule. But the children moving through that system are not standardized. Every student brings a unique brain chemistry, their own emotional history, and a completely different developmental timeline to the classroom. When a child's unique pace collides with a strictly regimented schedule, you get friction. The classroom expectations demand uniformity, and the child simply cannot comply. That friction triggers a predictable institutional pipeline. It starts with classroom friction, branding the child disruptive or defiant. This label triggers an official evaluation, cascading into a clinical diagnosis, and terminating with medication to serve as behavioral support. The classroom stabilizes, and order is restored. But the actual reasons why the child was struggling in the first place are completely ignored. We have to ask, did the system actually solve the student's problem, or did it merely solve its own? As we see with this towering structure, the push toward medication rarely comes from malice. It is a problem of overwhelming scale, where one single teacher is tasked with managing 30 or more students simultaneously. That sheer volume collides with severe resource gaps. Schools consistently lack enough behavioral specialists and counselors, leaving overloaded staff to manage complex emotional needs without any formal training and trauma-informed care. When you combine that high capacity with those scarce resources, it creates a systemic vacuum. Gaining a deep, holistic understanding of what a struggling child is actually experiencing becomes nearly impossible. Look at this fractured circle. The child is broken down into isolated data points. Schools only document the external behavior. Doctors only treat the clinical symptoms. And if courts get involved, they only measure baseline compliance. No single institution holds a unified view of the child. Without the complete picture, the easiest, most accessible intervention available, a prescription, becomes the system's default shortcut. Yet that default shortcut directly conflicts with the law. Public education is governed by strict federal mandates, specifically the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and Section 504. Those laws explicitly mandate individualized support. They legally require the school environment to adapt to the child's specific needs. A rigid, one-size-fits-all approach is not legally compliant. Furthermore, these mandates provide clear protections against forced medication. Schools are expressly prohibited from demanding a child be medicated as a condition of walking through the front doors. This brings us to the crucial distinction at the core of the issue. We have to separate the act of medicating a child for genuine support from medicating a child for control. Take a look at this scale. Support means deploying interventions designed to help the child function safely. Control is misusing medication for the sole purpose of forcing a child to help a broken school system function smoothly. If a school skips over making environmental changes and relies on a pill merely to force a student to conform to a rigid classroom, it violates both its legal mandate and its moral intent. Here is what a structural solution looks like. A healthy, child-centered environment does not react to friction by asking how to suppress the behavior. It asks what unmet need the child is experiencing. The layered intervention model builds support from the ground up. Tier 1 utilizes physical environment adjustments, like flexible seating. Tier 2 integrates relational support and counseling. Tier 3 implements targeted behavioral plans. Only after exhausting these tiers do we reach the peak, clinical medication. A clinical referral is an ethical option, but it only becomes valid after those foundational tiers of environmental and relational support have been rigorously tested and documented. To lock this model into place, we need concrete systemic reforms. The first step is mandating strict tracking of every classroom intervention before a medical referral can even be drafted. That requires integrated platforms like CoTrack Pro to pull that fractured data together. These tools create unified child profiles, tracking education, behavioral records, and support history in a single, transparent location. When documentation is unified, it directly strengthens parent advocacy. It shows the full context of the child's interventions, protecting their due process rights in both the principal's office and the courtroom. Ultimately, institutions have to shift how they measure success. They need to stop asking, "Is this child manageable?" and start asking, "Is this child developing?" Watch this sapling break through the concrete. Children should never be shaped to fit rigid systems before those systems are reshaped to understand the children. We must demand no medication without understanding and no intervention without context.